Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. I'm Eric Barnes. I'm CEO of the Daily Memphian, and we appreciate you coming to our small business seminar. We are Daily Memphian. You may have seen we just celebrated our 7th anniversary yesterday, so we're very excited about that. In dog years, that makes me like 190 or something like that, and I feel every year of it. But it's been amazing, and so thank you all who support us, who subscribe, who advertise, who come to our events. It's really been incredibly gratifying. I'll just do one moment of celebration for us. Some of us were just at a big journalism conference, and there's really not much of anything like the Daily Memphian in the country, and that's really because of people like you who care about local news, who read us, who share the articles. Local news across the country is just being decimated by just all the change. It's not the reporter's fault, that the commercial appeal, that there's 20-something people over there instead of 250, but it's happening across the country, and only in Memphis and in Baltimore have really sizable news organizations come together and tried to fill the gaps. And so thank you all for your support in making that possible. Let me also say we have a run of our kind of fall business seminars coming up on the back. The specific dates are on the back of your agenda here, but we've got an upcoming on October 23rd, our Developing Memphis seminar. We'll have Todd, in no particular order, Todd Richardson, who's the CEO of Crosstown Concourse, talking about things going on there, including the new Live Nation venue that they're building. We've got J. Lawrence Turner from the pastor of Mississippi Boulevard Church, talking about their ambitious big, $300 million proposal to redevelop that space in Midtown, kind of near the medical district. John Halford from Connect, which is a group of folks who bought and renovated a bunch of little restaurants and spaces in the Edge District, including Bar Limina and some other very cool spaces. It's a really interesting effort that they're making. And last but not least, Shondell Ryan, who's the CEO of Downtown Memphis Commission. So she'll be there. That's October 23rd. You can go to the Daily Memphian site, click on seminars, or search on Eventbrite, and you can get tickets to that. And then generally the biggest of the year, the commercial real estate review and forecast is December 4th. Again, the date's on the back. We don't have the speakers lined up yet, but those who've been there, it's not just for CRE people. It's a lot about what's going on in Memphis business. So it's really worth being at. Generally just a really great crowd and all that like this. So let me also quickly thank some of the folks. I'm going to leave people out. Carrie and Michelle and people from our staff. Janice, I see Sarah here. I think Lizzie here. Jen up front. Natalie Van Gundy, who does this production, all our podcasts, Behind the Headlines that we do over on WKNO. And I forgot somebody, but also Sophia Surratt is a reporter, a business reporter for us. So if you have just an amazing idea for a business story, just corner her and wear her out until she writes a story about your business. So that always works, definitely. Just be insistent, call constantly, harass us. We love that. So, but really, we do love when people tell us about what's going on with their businesses, in all seriousness. I think that's all we're doing. Oh, I should do one more thing is just remind everyone that about the Daily Memphian, we're actually a nonprofit. I think more people know that now, but a lot of people still don't. We're a nonprofit because it's a really difficult business. So we charge, a healthy fee for our subscription. We do events like this and sponsorships, but we also do, probably 20% of our revenue comes from donations and philanthropic support. So if you're so inclined, we'd love to talk to you about that. But hopefully you are a paid subscriber because that covers more than 50% of what we do. Just the order of events today, we'll get a message from our sponsor here in just a second, which is Paragon Bank, obviously, who's been with us since before the Daily Memphian, back to the old Daily News, if people remember that. Paragon's been an incredible supporter of everything we've done, so we really appreciate that. We'll bring the speakers up one at a time, and they'll do, kind of a talk, 10 minutes or so. And then we'll bring all of them up and we'll do Q&A and get questions from you all. And then we'll talk until we all get bored or we all want to drink really badly. And so there'll be drinks and some food, right, out in the lobby here afterwards. So with that, we'll start with a video message from Paragon Bank, our sponsor.
Memphis, the Bluff City, full of grit and grind, home of the blues, and the birthplace of Paragon Bank. In 2005, a group of friends started Paragon Bank because we wanted to work for a locally owned, employee-focused bank that provided an extremely high level of customer service. Out-of-state banks typically don't know customers and only make decisions based on set criteria. We understand Memphis, we understand Memphis businesses, and we know our customers. We hire experienced bankers who provide a very high-level service to our customers. They create loyal relationships that then turns around and provides a great return to our shareholders. Everything we do at Paragon revolves around service. That's service to our employees, service to our customers, and service to our community. We like for our employees to get involved in organizations where they have a passion. We provide 40 hours of paid time for all of our employees to work in the community. And then the hope then is that they get very involved with that organization and make impacts on all of our community. Paragon's success is directly tied to the success of Memphis. That success can be measured by thriving small businesses, the dream of home ownership, and when everyday people can reach their financial goals. I'm Robert Shaw, and this is Paragon's story.
So again, thank you very much, Paragon, for supporting this event. First up today, there's bios of everybody in, so I'm not going to do a big bio introduction, but our first up today is our first speaker is David Perdue, owner of Greenview Landscape Services.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. How are y'all? You don't sound too energetic. Well, hey, first and foremost, Natalie and Eric, thank you guys for having me over here. Natalie reached out to me a couple months ago. I was humbled at the opportunity to come out here and speak to y'all and that y'all wanted to hear my story. So first off today, I'll run through kind of how I got started in my company a couple of years ago. And then I'm going to share a couple of lessons that I learned along the way that I think will be beneficial for you guys, if anybody's in the room in that journey or about to start it, and then we'll conclude. So first off, introduce myself. I'm David Perdue. I own Greenview Landscape Services. Today we are a commercial landscape provider in the Memphis area. We do landscape installation, landscape maintenance, but that's not how we started out. I started out, let's see, what are we, 2025 right now? So in 2028, I got started out actually washing and detailing cars. And I did that for about a year, and I enjoyed that for a little while, and then kind of business got a little bit slow. I did a lot of detailing, and so when people are paying you a lot of money to detail their cars, you've got to be really, really passionate about it. And after a little while, I got a little bit burnt out on and doing that, and one day I was just scrolling through Facebook, and I saw that a lawn care company was hiring, so I applied. Literally the next day, started working at that lawn care company. It was not a very professional, or no, I wouldn't say that. It wasn't a very formal, corporate interview process. It was me and a couple of other guys, and I did that for 2 years. In my second year of doing that, so at that point, I was a senior at Houston High School. That would be the fall of 2018. School was starting back up, and I thought, I got to do something to make some money, and so I think that Reagan Lee's, there's not much of a barrier to entry to that. And so I posted some ads on Facebook and the good old Next Door Neighbor app. I don't even know if that's still a thing anymore. And I started getting a ton of business, and I got really, really busy with that. So for a little while I was doing, I had my side hustle going. I was working for the lawn care company a little bit and was in high school at Houston. And so one of my mentors, I did that for a couple of months. It was very, very tough. One of my mentors had really advised me to just go and do my thing. And so I ended up quitting working at that company, and in the fall of 2018 went, full-time into doing this. I graduated from Houston in May of 2019. So, I was raking a lot of leaves, like in the fall of 2018, and then in the springtime of 2018, I was wanting to get into cutting grass, but I didn't have enough money to go buy a zero turn, and I didn't want to have to push mow all those yards, especially coming from working from that company where we had all this really nice equipment. And so I was doing mulch at a guy's house one day, and he had a really nice zero turn in his backyard, and it was a pretty hefty mulch job. And I said, hey, Mr. Matt, would you be open to trading this mulch job for that Toro zero turn in your backyard? And he said, let me think on it. And the next day he got back to me and said, yeah, we'll do that. I'm good with that. And, looking back on that, I so got the upper end of that deal. But he was very, very generous to do that. And so, that's how I got into grass cutting then. And then, at that point, it's springtime 2019. Graduation's coming around the corner. And I think at that point in like May, I was probably mowing 40, 50 yards a week and was having a lot of fun, loved it. And then I looked up and it's like, oh, gosh, graduation's right around the corner. And I had not, filled out any college applications. My grades were not, I didn't look very pretty on paper, I'm sure, to most colleges. But I was doing really good with this little thing that I had going. And I thought, let me get out of school, be able to put full time into this, and we'll just see how it goes the first year. And so I did that, graduated next day, went back to work, and was able to, crank out 6 days a week. And we were just blessed way more than we deserved. And then we got into projects and got into retaining walls and drainage. And, along the way, if I didn't know how to do it, my motto was, when in doubt, sub it out. And that's how I learned. And that's how I learned some of the more like the construction side of things. So that was really kind of how I got started. And then along the way in 2021, we acquired a small little residential landscape business. And then in 2022, there's another company. They got out of the residential sector, and we acquired a lot of their business as well. And so that got us really kind of heavy into the high-end residential. And then over the last 2 years, we've kind of made the shift of being more focused on the commercial landscape maintenance. One of the things I'll touch on later on in this presentation is our purpose, and you'll see how that kind of ties into our purpose later on and the motive behind that. But, it has been quite the journey, lots of adversity, and I always say, you're either going into adversity, you're in adversity, or you're coming out of it. So it's always a cycle, and when it happens, lean into it. And so I think that's really, I think that's probably it as far as like our getting started goes. Now, about 60% of our company is the maintenance side, 40% is the install side. So we work a lot for general contractors when they go and build a facility ground up. They'll subcontract us out for the landscape, the irrigation, and the sod. And then our maintenance side works a lot for like property management companies, developers, property owners, stuff of that nature, in the senior living, the multifamily, the retail, the office, industrial, so on and so forth. So today, now we've got about 28 employees. We run 6 crews out in the field. Most of those are maintenance. The rest are install. And really kind of our plan going forward is to continue to lean into that commercial side and grow that landscape maintenance side. So that's really kind of it on, getting started. Some of the lessons that I've learned along the way, I've got 3 things I want to share with you guys I think would be really important. First one is perspective drives performance, and how we view what we do determines how we do what we do. And I say that to say because along this way, there's been so many like deep valleys that I've gone through where, I always say, like, I don't know where I heard it from, but somebody said, and I say it now, eagles fly alone. And there's times where, especially, like for me, being a young buck coming out of high school, everybody's in college and everybody's going to all these events, and I had to really hunker down and work because I had to make money for a living. And so there's times where that can be really, really tough. And then also too, just, being the main operator, there was times where like in probably 2020, I probably had 8 people working for me. And I remember there was one day where only one person showed up to work. And it's like, I've made all these commitments to all these clients, and I'm going to get to all these people's properties today, and people don't show up. And that's very, very stressful. And so I think just maintaining, good perspective through all those things can be incredibly beneficial. Keeping your perspective open is very powerful. And then the ability to learn, even when pain is your teacher, is a gift. Because beautiful people, they don't just happen. You've got to go through some adversity. And there's the old saying of, diamonds are made under pressure, and it's so cliche, but it's so, so true. The second lesson that I've learned throughout all this is be grateful for the problems that you do have. I believe that all of our problems that we have are, specifically and uniquely designed for us and creating and shaping us into becoming the individuals that we need to become. And so, David Perdue's problems are specific to David Perdue, and Nick Gant's problems are specific to Nick Gant. And so it kind of ties in with the perspective thing. But, I looking at where we are today, it's like if I did not go through some of the adversity that I went through 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, there's no way that I'd be able to sustain where we are at today. And so in the midst of all that, it's just maintaining that perspective. The word commitment is a very powerful word to me. I'm very committed to what I do, and my definition for commitment is standing true to what you say you're going to do long after the mood you've set it in has left. And, a while ago I said that when I graduated high school, I'm going to give this thing my best shot. And some of the issues, the adversity that we've had along the way, there's no way I could have seen any of this stuff coming. But I'm so passionate about what I do, and it fulfills my purpose, that even when you are going through those rough seasons, it's, it keeps you going. And then really the last thing is focusing on purpose and mission. So our mission statement at Greenview is to beautify the city and help others grow. And that we created that last year because there was kind of hit a lull where, when I was in high school doing this, and then coming out of high school, it was like working to survive. And then, we got our business up to a pretty good point in 2023, and 2023 was a good year, and 2024 was a good year, and Lord willing, 2025 will be a good year. But, in 2024, it was like, gosh, like we're doing well now. And I'd worked so hard to, like, just make the bare necessities happen, that once I was able to do those things, it was like, well, why keep on working harder? And so I kind of went through a season last year for a couple of months where it was like, there's no need to work any harder. And, I have an awesome business coach. I have an awesome informal board of advisors. And I talk to them a lot about that. And so what kind of was missing was like, my purpose. And so I'm a young buck, and I don't have any kids or a family or anything. And so, I feel like I'm probably speaking a little bit out of my pay grade here, but, I feel like I hit that first cycle last year where it's like, I think that as you get married, kind of your drive or your purpose may change, and you get kids, and those kids go to college, and, so on and so forth. Some of you could probably maybe empathize with that. But for me, I didn't know what it was. And so I finally just realized that, I love this city. And with this business that I have, we have an awesome opportunity to keep the city clean, help beautify it. And that's kind of the part of the motive for going into that commercial landscape is, I would love to be able to do every single property up and down Riverside Drive and the Poplar Corridor and have my thumb on all those just to create a better looking aesthetic for the city of Memphis. And then the second piece is helping people grow. So whether that's taking lunch out to vendors, employees, customers, I love landscaping, but I think that those two things right there in our mission statement, I'm very, very passionate about those. And so really, if whatever I do in life, if I get to do those things, I'll probably be happy, I think, because those are what's very, very fulfilling to me. And so, that's kind of my motive behind, why I do what I do. And that took a while to kind of put into some words, but I think figuring out what your purpose, what your mission is, that'll be very, very crucial, because I think those will help get you through those tough times as well. So that's really all I got today, guys. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it, and looking forward to what you guys have to say. Thanks, y'all.
That's great. I was not that clear when I was your age. I'm not sure I'm that clear right now, and I'm a little bit older than you, but that's fantastic. Next up, Andre Ford, president of Campbell and Ford Construction.
Thank you for having me. I'm going to do you all a favor and set my timer because sometimes I can get a little preachy, a Southern Baptist type. So, Andre Ford, Campbell Ford Construction president. Started Campbell Ford back in 2013 with my partner, Michael Campbell. He and I worked at a company in town. I was a construction vice president, construction manager, and we put out an ad for a project manager and superintendent, and so Michael Campbell was one of the ones that responded to the ad. He and I became really, really good friends, and developed this really close partnership and relationship, and we decided in 2013 to start our own thing. But that's when we started the business. The foundation for Campbell & Ford was started back in when I was 11 years old. Now, I'm going to share this like I told Sophia. I'm a spiritual man, and I will tell you, I wouldn't be here if it weren't for Christ and His grace and His mercy. And I'm a walking testimony, and I'll tell you that I came from a very troubled background. My dad was an alcoholic, and my mom was a drug addict. And when I was 11 in College Station, Texas, I used to walk wealthier white neighborhoods to look for work and odd-end jobs and do anything I could to help feed my family and myself. And I knocked on this big old house, big yellow house with a red door. And this really sweet lady opened the door and said, honey, can I help you? And I said, yes, ma'am. It looks like your yard needs mowed, and I'd like to mow it for you. And I still remember like it was yesterday, but she had two older boys playing duck hunt, and I'm probably aged myself a little bit, but they were playing duck hunt on Nintendo in the living room. And she looked at them and said, sure, you can mow the lawn. She was puzzled, and she said, well, where's your mower? And I said, I figured with this big fancy house, you had your own mower. She thought that was really cute. She said, yeah, I do. But I was used to this. My grandma had this mower, and it was just this tin can. It was a pull string thing, and it was a piece of junk. But she had this mower, and it looked like a spaceship to me. I mean, it was this Toro, had this knobs and stuff all over it. I had no idea how to start the thing. So she started the mower, and I really didn't know how to mow a lawn either. So I was mowing the lawn. I was all over the place. Okay, Perdue, you probably can really appreciate this. Okay, you probably won't hire me now after this. But I had no idea how to mow a lawn. But I was all over the place. Saw a patch of grass. Boom! She came outside with some lemonade. She said, "Turn the mower off. Turn it off." Turned it off, and she showed me how to mow in a pattern. The sweetest thing, still to this day. Now she passed last year, and I still don't think she was actually human. I think she was actually an angel. But she took me in like I was her son and showed me another side of life that I wasn't accustomed to seeing. And I really truly believe that's when Campbell & Ford was started. It was some people showing me grace and opening their doors and showed me a different way of life. That helped get me into a children's home when I was 16, a Church of Christ Children's Home back in Cherokee, Texas, in the Hill Country. And from there, I went to play football in Searcy for Harding University. I got a 4-year degree in business administration, and I moved here to Memphis in 2000, where I was a part-time youth minister for a church, and as well as a headhunter, which is a recruiter, and I hated that job. And one of the deacons at the church said, Andre, he was also an alum of Harding. He said, listen, I'm getting ready to start a construction business. Are you interested? And I was like, absolutely. I didn't know the right end of a hammer. Didn't know anything about construction. But I had a zeal and a want to. And he hired me. And I started in the field as a laborer, then worked my way up to a superintendent, then a project manager estimator. That same person, Alan Wagner General Contractors, helped me start my business in 2013. So that's how we started. And I told you all that to tell you that, especially in today's environment, right? You just need good things. And I just tell you that sometimes you just need someone to help you. And sometimes you need a helping hand. And you never know what can happen. And so obstacles that we overcome. Obviously, in construction, there are obstacles every day, whether it's cash flow, whether it's finding the right kind of people, which we have that problem all the time. Finding skilled laborers is a problem that we often face every day. But I will tell you that one thing that we did do, especially in 2020, I'll tell you this story as well. COVID really impacted our industry a lot. And not only did it impact us financially, but it really cut into the workforce. And we were having a hard time. And I took a job in and around Nashville, and I learned some real lessons there as well. But we took a job financially there. We lost $1.8 million in cash. Now, I can tell you that, yeah, everybody's like, oh, whoa, wow. So, yes, and what got us through that was just a resolve to make sure that we will make this thing work. Sometimes it's just, obviously, when you face obstacles, what's in you and what comes out of you usually is going to be the result of your training and your dedication to your craft. Okay, it's going to be hard. Business is hard. Business goes through cycles. Okay? There's ebbs and flows, peaks and valleys. And I'm from Texas, so I say Texas things sometimes. But you got to stack some hay in the barn. Okay, so we had to learn that lesson. Okay, it's going to be good, and when it's good, you stack hay in the barn. You invest. You make sure that you're setting yourself up for bad things to happen in the future, because they will happen. Okay, one thing that I did learn. One of the few things, I was going to leave you with this. One of the few things we learned is we needed a bail team. So I'm an adjunct professor for Chattanooga State Community College, and I teach a limited residential licensing class. In that class, I teach for businesses when they get ready to start that you need a bail team. And B in bail is for banker. Okay, you need a good banking relationship. And in 2020, when we're going through all these trials and tribulations and all these things, the bank really helped us. My relationship with my banker was paramount. He saw our financials, but he knew the person. And I would tell you, when you're starting in a business, make sure that you do have a relationship with a banker that's a personal relationship, not one that's kind of counterfeit, but one that they know you. Okay, they don't look at you as an algorithm or a number, but they see a person. Okay, I heard a lot about Paragon. Trust me, I'm starting another business soon. I will be talking to you guys. Okay, whoever is in here from Paragon, I would love to talk to you. Okay, but trust me, a personal relationship with a banker is absolutely critical. The A in Bell team is accountant. You need a good CPA. Okay, you need a good CPA. Every small business, any business, it has to have a really good CPA. Obviously, when I was going through these things financially, went to my banker. The banker's going to ask for your financials. Okay, so you make sure you have a good CPA to take care of your financials when you do need to have some cash. The I is for insurance. You got to have a good insurance agent. If you're in construction or any kind of business, insurance is paramount. Now, insurance is a bad word for some people, but it's needed. Okay, and the L is for lawyer. Didn't think I would need one, but after that debacle, I make sure that I send all my contracts to my lawyers. Okay, 2 of them, actually. Okay, so before I sign any contracts, I make sure that they see those things. Okay, how do we grow our business? Well, I will tell you that we grew it by taking risk. I know I used to be a financial advisor in my past life as well, and I can tell you that people that take risk, that's where the most reward is. Okay, and I remember taking a job in 2016 with TVA in Kiewit, power constructors, but there were a lot of my mentors and people were telling me not to do it. Don't go to TVA, man. They're really hard, with stringent, with safety, and you're gonna lose this, you're gonna lose this. So we started with a $40,000 contract to paint pipe. Okay, now mind you, we're a concrete subcontractor. Okay, all right. So we started with a $40,000 contract to paint pipe. It ended with a $5 million contract. What that did was help us scale and get more skilled craftsmen, more equipment, and more skill sets to do other work with Kiewit. Now we do work with Kiewit all around the country. But it started with me taking a risk. Okay, understanding that networking is very paramount to your business. Meeting people. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. Okay, meeting the right people will get you in the right doors. All right. Make sure that if in some cases you're going to need to team. We teamed with other companies that were bigger than us, that had more experience than us, and in doing so, we learned from these teams. Okay, and in teaming with them, we were able to scale and do other things as well. All right, so we're at the airport right now with Mr. McCullough. Thank you. And so I was told that you were the one that referred me to this, and I do thank you. That's a good brother of mine. But trust me, teaming is absolutely critical too to small business, right? What inspired me to be in this industry? I told you I'm a spiritual person, and when I was thinking about what division of construction I wanted to get in, concrete just seemed natural. Why? Because truthfully, when you have a good spiritual foundation, that's where you want to start, right? So I thought concrete and foundations and building things on a firm foundation was pretty cool. So that's why we started the concrete business. I'm gonna leave you with a few things, okay? Watching my time here. All right, so in closing, I would tell you that doing what you love and love what you're doing is very paramount. It's critical. If you're going to be in business, you got to be doing something that you love doing. If you're in business just to make money, it's just not going to last long. You may be successful doing it in the short term, but in the long term, won't be satisfactory for you. So make sure if you get into some kind of business, do something that you enjoy doing. I love construction. I love what I do. And it's easy for me to get up every day and do what I do because I love doing what I do. Don't take yourself too seriously. Okay? I used to think if you're the smartest person in the room, you didn't need a room. Okay? Don't take yourself too seriously. All right? You need to have a good work-life balance. All right? If you work too much and you're constantly working, grinding, next thing you know, you're too old or your knees hurt or your back hurts, and then you can't enjoy all the money you made. Okay? So make sure you have a good work-life balance. And then find your purpose. Okay? Make sure you find your purpose. And in doing so, maybe you find your own yellow house with a red door. Okay? So thank you guys for having me, and love talking to you.
And I knew I left someone off. It was Heather. Also, Heather's on our staff. I was like, I could just feel this sense that I had left one staff member out of the mix here. Last but not least, Shannon Finks and Lloyd Finks are co-founders of ZüpMed, and they're going to talk here. Did I do it right? Oh, God. See, I've been practicing for like an hour pronouncing Zup, because I walked in saying Zoop, and he goes, no, it's definitely not that. But I got closer. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, guys. How are you? Thank you to the Daily Memphian for having us. I'm a college professor, so self-admittedly, I have to have slides or I can't talk to a large group of people. So we brought just a few things to help cue our conversation today. I'm a pharmacist by background. My husband's an internal medicine physician, but this is not his first job. He has had, like many of our former speakers, multiple opportunities in life to get to where he is today, and that sort of frames our business model.
That's
as well.
like saying I can't hold a job.
No, no, it's not.
Yeah,
it's absolutely not.
So in case you haven't picked up on this, I let Shannon do the talking, and then I just kind of fill in here. Okay.
Well, I think that if anyone has experienced the frustration of going either to an urgent care or maybe even a crowded physician office and have to sit for 45 minutes, an hour and a half, 8 hours, 12 hours if you're in the ER, only to spend a couple of minutes with the provider. I think you get why we started ZüpMed. It's ZüpMed. It's like look, cook, Zup. It has that unique sound in between. It's not what's up, but it's Zup. We believe that the traditional healthcare experience is flawed and it has room to grow. We feel that it's very transactional, impersonal, and rushed. And so we wanted to improve upon this model. We wanted to create an environment where patients really felt heard, cared for. We'd like to see come to us, come be seen and not hurted. And we wanted to elevate the healthcare experience such that you might want to even come or look forward to coming to the doctor.
But at the very core of what we do is we are a very high quality general medical, urgent and primary care medical clinic. And we don't accept insurance. That's part of our financial model. But in allowing us to do so, or not taking insurance, it allows us to provide a level of care that simply cannot be matched by insurance-based services. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second.
The idea actually started on a napkin. We were out to dinner. We had each worked in the medical field for over 20 years each. And one night we just went on a rant about all the things that bothered us with not only our jobs as practitioners, but the patient experience as well.
Yeah, so I grew up with an Aunt Sally, and if you were ever to cast a movie, she was the absolute most beautiful, charming, delightful Jewish lady from New York City who was a dietitian, which in the 1950s was a big deal at Columbia University Hospital. And I would go to visit her throughout the years, and I don't care if you had a hangnail, I don't care if you had a nosebleed, she'd say, "Zup, it's the best medicine on earth." And that was kind of that was kind of the family joke. Here, have some zup. But zup is Yiddish, the Jewish language for soup, and that's what we strive to be. We try to be healthful, warm, comforting.
Warm, nourishing, comforting, healthy, healing. And in fact, the New England Journal of Medicine actually published a peer-reviewed paper comparing chicken noodle soup to patients who did not get chicken noodle soup, and who do you think felt better? Absolutely, those who got ZUP. We got our certificate of occupancy the day before the mayor shut the city down for COVID. We were so excited we could finally open. We had one patient come to see us, and the evening news that night guaranteed that we would have an empty parking lot for a very long time to come. So we had to pivot, and
I have to fill this in, though. I have to fill this in. We mortgaged both our homes to start our business, and because as physicians, we're not the best investors. All right, so we went to our local bank, with whom we had a relationship, and we mortgaged both the houses, and we put everything we had into this thing. And
both the houses, let me just say, we had a house, and we had a small fishing cabin.
Right, okay, so it sounds like more than we had, right. Yeah, right, in a tent. And so the following morning, literally, we stood on the sidewalk in front of our business. There was one car, and it was two cars. It was our car and our one employee, who had managed to drive in, and Shannon just kind of punched me on the arm and said, "Well, this was a good idea."
In business, everything doesn't always turn out the way that you hope and that you plan. So you pivot and you work hard. And if you remember at the beginning of the pandemic, the only place that you could get a true COVID test was in an 8-hour drive-through line a couple places of the city. So we were medical, we were essential, we were open all day. We started to develop a COVID testing, not only a COVID testing center, and yes, you paid cash to come and see us, but we were also equipped with nursing, with physicians, with people, with pharmacists, with people who could give you medicine if you were sick, if you did actually test positive for COVID. We have a lot of stories that we don't have time to tell about pivoting during COVID, but it was an eye-opening experience for this farm girl that grew up in Martin, Tennessee, whose mother taught business at the University of Tennessee, but she had stayed away from business. I wanted the math and the science, but here I was trying to learn how to pivot when things don't go well.
So I don't think we should minimize how important COVID was to the start of our business. And
it was the best open house that we never could have paid for.
Yeah, and I'll acknowledge Providence also, because
amen.
Yeah, I think that sometimes you're given a gift that you don't even realize how big that gift is. And in a very short period of time, we had developed a pretty extensive service system. We had city contracts, we had a satellite operation with the airport. If you'll remember, there was a lot of filming going on in Memphis at that time, and we found ourselves flying to Los Angeles, to Miami, with teams for COVID testing, because the Screen Actors Guild had certain requirements, and they came to know us. So we grew very rapidly. And
the travel requirements, you had to have a note from a physician saying that you were COVID negative to enter some cities, and so we were able to serve that side of the business market as well.
So service, we like to think of service as the delivery of your product. It's very simple. Service is the delivery of your product. We believe hospitality is how you deliver that product. It's the gravy on the mashed potatoes.
But hospitality is also part of the healing process. The last thing you want to do when you're sick is have to go and fill out 5 different pages of paperwork, sit there for another 45 minutes, and so we try again to remove that burden, remove that pain point from going to see the doctor.
Yeah, and I think everything that we try to do is focused on the patient experience. Again, at the core, high-quality medicine, But the experience, the patient experience, is truly what we try to master. And both of our businesses, all three of our businesses, you know, you have to learn how to serve your client, but also to be hospitable in that fashion. And we believe from the first time we answer the phone, that begins.
Adding value, there's lots of ways that we hope that ZüpMed brings value to Memphis. I think for us, we struggle with the word concierge medicine. Lloyd didn't even say that word. He said we're a high quality or a high touch medical experience. And when you hear the word concierge, it's closed. It's not open to the public. It's open to members only. And it was very important to us. And I think the pandemic started that. I mean, there was no way that we were going to exclude anyone who needed testing or treatment or advice during that time frame. But the way we structure our model is a hybrid. It is a concierge practice to some extent, but it's also a direct primary care. It is in addition to that, though both of those are membership models, but you as a guest can come and have an urgent care experience with us and not require a membership. We are also trying to add value to that experience. So say, for example, you work in a busy law firm and time is money and you need someone to come to your office. You have a bad head cold and you need to be evaluated, or your blood pressure may be up and you need to be evaluated. We do office house calls, and we're trying to add value to the Memphis business market in serving that part of our community as well.
Yeah, I think something that really struck a chord listening to our first two speakers was the commitment to the city of Memphis also. And so what Shannon was very insistent on, and which I have thoroughly agreed with her from the beginning, is we don't want to be closed. What we want to be is open. And we do take a lot of heat. You mentioned Nextdoor, Facebook. There's been, especially during COVID, there was lots of conversation about, well, they're just a bougie, medical service. We take great pride in taking care of a broad range of people. What that allows us to do, and what I believe the United States healthcare system should do, is to charge a fair price for service, which would then allow us to take care of those who cannot afford it. And I think that's the way it's supposed to work, and that's the way we try to run our small business.
Yeah. I think lessons learned.
I got one.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, if you really want to test your marriage, start a business together. Yeah.
I think there are so many lessons, and I loved what David said and what Andre said. Your lessons were priceless and very motivating and powerful. I think for, again, not growing up thinking I'm going to own my own business one day, I think just finding a problem, finding something that no one else is able to solve, and using your creative energies to solve that problem in a way that brings value to someone is the start of entrepreneurship, and we're very grateful for that.
I think the conversation about a mentorship, business mentorship, is incredibly important. Having people around you that you can bounce ideas off of, the informal board, that you have, that you can say, does this make any sense to you? I think that's really, really important. I think the other lesson that we learn, and again, we are highly hospitality driven. I was fortunate to work for a company immediately out of my first time in college that sent me to Cornell Hotel School. And what I learned there is a lesson that we've tried to share with our staff. And you're often taught to under-promise and over-deliver, but that sets up your client for expectations that you can't always fulfill. You certainly don't want to over-promise and under-deliver, because that will drive your guest or your client away. But really what you want to do is make the promise of what you can deliver and then deliver it. And if you can do that with a smile and some warmth and some true appreciation and love. Some Zup. There you go. Yeah. With some Zup, then I think you've accomplished your purpose, whether you're building dams or power plants or
beautifying the city.
Beautifying the city.
Yeah. for beautifying the human who sits in front of you. The future, we are expanding. We're in Laurelwood, and we are doubling our footprint in size, and in doing so, we are expanding the services that we offer. We are growing a menopause medicine service. We have our urgent care, our primary care. We have a genetic service that utilizes genetic information to ensure safety and efficacy from the medicines that you may be prescribed. And all of these services, again, are niches where the typical traditional insurance-based medical system kind of falls short. So we're trying to really take care of people in these areas. And with that, I think we are...
We are dog-friendly.
Oh, we are dog-friendly.
Yeah.
This is Coda. She is our chief operating pausifer.
Yeah.
And she comes to work with us every day.
Thank you so much. It's an honor, really.
Is this me or is this? I'm here.
Yes, all right.
Thank you all. That was great. Thank you for all of that. Do we got the mics on? If you pull the forward. Did I take your water? Shannon looked at me like
Well,
you took.
no, I wondered if Natalie was coming for the clicker thing.
Oh,
but,
yeah. No, I've got it up here. I've got it up here. Thank you. Thank you all. And we'll do Q&A. We'll get questions from you all at some point here. So, or I can ask questions. I sort of do that for a living. So many questions. One, where do I want to start? Well, one question I just have for you, because you're a very impressive young man, and you don't seem as young. How old are you?
24.
Good God. So, wow. Just this, I swear, I kept thinking this. Like, you drive by a yard, a business that's all overgrown. How do you feel? Do you notice every yard and every, like, median, or no?
Yeah, particularly, yeah. Is this working?
Yeah.
Yeah, particularly medians and downtown,
Yeah.
Street corners, absolutely.
Did you know Paul Young? We could introduce you.
I think I know what it is.
Okay, I've met him.
I love what they're doing there on Riverside Drive. I mean, that looks, I was driving down it yesterday. It looks beautiful down there.
Yeah.
But, I think so many of these properties downtown along Poplar Corridor, it's like, if you just keep the shrubs trimmed and just the grass cut and the sidewalks clean, it completely changes the aesthetic of the place.
Former Mayor Strickland used to say, like, he would always focus on potholes and grass and tree trimming, and people would say, well, you should be focused on this and this and this. And he would always say to me, sometimes on the record or off the record, he'd say, people who say that have never been to a community or a neighborhood meeting, because that's all they would ask him about was potholes and trimming and that kind of thing. For Andre, you started in 2013.
Yes, sir.
Coming off the recession.
Yes, sir.
Bold move, but it worked.
It did.
I mean, were you fearful? Was it, I
Still feel for it every day. It doesn't change.
Yeah. And then the thing, you were talking about the working together. I've said it other small business things. My mother and stepfather, I'm a child of small business, for better and worse. And like I was like in college before I realized that people didn't just talk about work at dinner and lunch and breakfast and vacation. They had vacation. It was a construction company. And it was all consuming. I, of course, worked there after schools and weekends and, did all these crazy things. And it was great. But how do you find, now you're 5 years into this. Do you have we're going to do 30 minutes and we're not going to talk about work? You got to do some things, right, to not talk about work, or you just talk about work?
Yeah, I think Netflix has been a big help. We sit down on whatever we're binging on and just kind of veg out for a couple of episodes. I think that forces us not to talk about. And then immediately, right after we turn the TV off, Shannon will say, hey, I got to show you something. And we're right back into it again. But that's, for us, and I think you're wired for this. I think everybody in this room who's attending this is wired for this. I really do believe that this is who we are meant to be. We create.
Find your purpose.
Yeah, find your purpose. Yeah. And so it isn't awkward. It isn't in the way. It's just who we are.
Yeah.
It's really hard to shut your brain off, especially when your payrolls $70,000 a week.
Yeah.
So it's hard to shut off sometimes because you're constantly thinking about backlog and and how to continue to feed that beast, right? So it's but she and I find a way to do it quite often. Movies are our thing as well. Mm-hmm. Netflix is our thing too. So
we should share.
We should. Yeah, we should.
Are you taking notes?
We jot that down.
Yeah, but we do. But we also vacation quite often.
That's nice.
We try to go out of the country at least twice a year.
Yeah, and it's your wife, right?
Yes,
Yeah, we had that
that's
before.
the boss.
Are you in the business as well? Oh, okay, good move. There you go. There you go. We had maybe it was this same small business. We had the folks from City Silo on, and involved with other small businesses in town, and they've worked together forever. And they have some rule about they have these times where you can't talk about business, but they'll text each other. Like it's like with the kids, it's like dinners and stuff. So we're not going to talk about work. We're going to be focused on the kids, and they're just texting. Well, you didn't order enough stuff. It was very funny. A really in the weeds question for you about your business model is how many employees do you have?
So we started with three of us, and we rapidly accelerated during COVID, and we now have 17.
And do you then have contractors coming in too to provide services to some?
We had, up until recently, an independent contractor that was
just one.
Our bookkeeper, but just one.
But not on the not on the provider side.
No.
Everybody's an employee.
No.
And if if somebody needs a specialist, you're referring out like any other doctor, and they may use their insurance over it. That's then their relationship over there, and that's how.
Yeah, I think it's very important to our guest base, to our patient base, that we have very deep relationships with subspecialists throughout the city and into Nashville. How often does your primary care doctor says, yeah, you really need to see a cardiologist? And you call for that cardiology appointment, it's 8 weeks down the road and say, wait a second, this is my heart. And they go, yeah, the best I can do. So one of the advantages we can offer our members is the benefit of those relationships that we have. And we have ways of making appointments really quickly.
And those relationships were just built from the years of practice that we spent in the city. Memphis is a big, small town.
Yeah. For you, as a mix of employees and contractors?
All W-2.
All W-2.
Yeah.
How many right now, did you say?
28.
28. And expanding, do you think about expanding just regionally, or do you look at other cities, or there's enough to get to in this city?
For right now, we want to focus on Memphis
and
get a grip on Memphis, possibly, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not expecting any.
Yeah. Well, get on it. Come on, you got to get going.
Yeah, he's so old.
The clock is running. I mean, you're almost 25, for God's sake.
He doesn't have much time left.
Sorry. And Andre, you've got to use subcontractors, right? I mean, that's part of the business, or how is your relationship of employees and contractors, subcontractors, all that kind of stuff?
So we're a structural concrete company.
Okay.
So we do a lot of structural concrete foundations and flat work, a lot of site work. So we self-perform our concrete. So we're not a general contractor. We're specialized structural concrete foundation contractor. But I've got 53 employees.
53. All employees, and then not
W-2s.
W-2s. Yeah. And and again, I know the construction a bit from my, sometimes like you were saying, you take a job because you got good people, you're going to maybe break even, but possibly lose money, but you don't want to lose those people, especially if it's a situation where the people are in demand.
So I'm glad you mentioned that. So in 21, I went to one of my mentors, Andy Davis with Turner Construction, do a lot with Turner, and I had that very question. I said, listen, I've got all these employees. See, and that's just one of the things, employees, and like I said, don't take yourself seriously, but my employees are gold, and I treat them that way. They're the most important part of Campbell Ford. Now, it's not me, okay? I may be the ugly face that go around and does these speaking engagements and stuff like that, but they're the ones that really make the thing run. So during COVID, and I kept them all employed. And to, there's a lot of my mentors like, what are you doing? There's no way I'd do that. But we did.
Yeah.
And we kept people, because when I see them, I see faces, I see families, I see their children, I see real people, and it was just hard for me to do that.
Yeah.
So it got into our retained earnings and got into some of that stuff, but I think that's why the Lord has blessed us now, because we did what we were supposed to do.
I think that's a really interesting thing about business that someone who didn't grow up in business or even understand the first thing learned, and that is very quickly that small business supports families through your employees. Mm-hmm. And every day that we work, we see, just like you do. Yeah. It's important. Yeah. It's important to see your staff and as family, and taking care of them is almost as important as taking care of the customers that you serve. Not more so.
Yes.
Makes me feel any worse for forgetting about Heather. Questions, or I can keep asking questions, and we can kind of circle around. Have people got questions? Yeah.
For Lloyd and Shannon, I guess you had decades of experience in your prospective fields that had some overlap, and then you had your dinner with your napkin. What were the most couple of steps, if you will, between your notes on your napkin and starting your business?
Well, so I had the business background and had started off as an entrepreneur, and then decided I needed to make a real living and went back to school. So I had the foundation of the business experience, and I started off with an Excel spreadsheet and started thinking about how this was going to work. At the time, I was working for Methodist Alliance, and I was running their minor meds and was also director of their hospice program. So I had some opportunity to see what was working in the Methodist urgent care system and what wasn't. And so that was probably the foundation of starting to build. I knew how it needed to be staffed, but I also had a pretty good idea of how I wanted it to be staffed. And I just felt that there was, we always talk about you can make a decision, you can make a choice in how you go out to dinner. You can go to, and I don't mean to be disparaging, but you can go to McDonald's or you can go to a restaurant Iris. I mean, you can choose your restaurant. If you can afford a higher end restaurant and you want that dining experience, then that's where you're going to go. And I've always thought, and I did part of my clinical training in London working for the National Health Service, and there was a private medical service. I worked for the NHS, but there was a private medical service that if you chose to use it, you can write a check. You can do that. And people had that option. And I always thought that was needed in the United States. So that was the start. We went to an Excel spreadsheet and started figuring out how this was going to work. I hope that answered your question.
And I think Andre's points earlier about a banker and a good tax accountant and a lawyer and
insurance agent.
Those are important.
Yeah. And we had a bunch of people say, "Are you out of your mind?" And just
So. For you, managing the money. I mean, you're coming out of high school. You're building this business. You gotta. I mean, how did you go into that? Did you make some mistakes? Did you do it right all the time?
Oh yeah. I read a book. Well, there was in my senior year of high school. I'd gotten in kind of the project side, and I had like one bank account. It was very, very messy back then. So that was like my personal money, and that was the business money, and that was like the deposit. When a customer would give us a deposit for a job, that would go in there, and that would be our tax money and payroll money. So, you really couldn't tell what was what. You couldn't really tell like how much of this is actually mine, how much of this is like unearned income, how much is going to go to tax. You had no idea. And so, there was certainly a couple of pitfalls. I could tell some funny stories about that.
We can't wait.
I read a book called Profit First, and I can't remember who it's by. It was Profit First for contractors, and then a couple of years later they came out with a Profit First for landscapers. But that book changed my life, and that kind of gave me the fundamentals of, or that taught me the fundamentals of, bank accounts and keeping things separate. And so, we made a deposit account, and when clients would give us money for a deposit account, it would go in that deposit account, and we know like that's not earned income. Can't go spend that. So certainly, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when. I'm joking because I'm impressed by you, but one of my first jobs in Memphis, I'm trying not to name the person, and it was I was employee number 70, and and this was really one of my mentors and still really a great friend of mine, for no good reason, because we went bankrupt. But part of the reason we went bankrupt is that, we had all this money in the bank. And I had really only been on the publishing and editorial and tech side of publishing, really hadn't been in the business side, but I got into it there. It was like, we would joke, it was my MBA. And part of my MBA at this company was coming back with a spreadsheet that said, I think we're out of business. I really don't think we have any, but no, we have all this money in the bank, right? I'm like, yeah, but we have all these books we haven't printed, and we have all these magazines we haven't delivered, and we have all this stuff we haven't done. Oh, well, let's just go out and sell some more, and then we'll put some more money in the bank. And I was like, I think that's called a Ponzi scheme. I think there's a word for that. And, but you learn those. Again, like you guys talked really wonderfully about mentors. A lot of my parents went bankrupt. Cars were gone, foreclosed on the house. It was horrible. I learned a lot about small businesses through that. And this company that went under that I was part of was, you learn a lot. And there's a reason that this guy's still a very good friend of mine, because he's brilliant, he's smart, he's a wonderful person. Sometimes, you learn from those things. Hopefully it's not your money, and I was lucky that it wasn't mine. But all my mentors have been crazy. So that's just kind of, you guys have nicer ones. Other questions, and I'll stop talking here. In the back, and then I'll come to you in the front. Yeah. Yeah, back there. And I'm going to repeat the questions, because the acoustics are weird in here. So but yeah, back there.
Good planning.
So there's different marketing angles on all of these.
How did you start your marketing? How are you doing your marketing? Because I'm really interested in how you got started rolling the ball, and particularly when you started out with a business model thinking we're going to do this medical practice, and then COVID, and you had to do the pivot. So that. Your marketing plan went out the window, in the first 6 hours.
You assume we had a marketing plan. Yes. Yeah.
It was word of mouth, and literally, marketing is something that's very hard for me. I'm taking some business coaching currently, and one of the things that my coach asked me to do is figure out, essentially, what is the best thing that someone could do for you and your business. Have you ever marketed that? And no, I have been marketing the wrong things the entire time we've been open. And when we ask people, how did you hear about us? It's never because of my Instagram or social or any paid Google ads. It's always, oh, so-and-so told me to come by. They had a great experience. Aside from 5-star Google reviews, which we're thankful to have, I'm still learning about marketing.
I want to take a poll. Who has seen our billboard?
No one.
Well, that's reassuring.
Thanks for writing that check, Lloyd.
Yeah. So thank
but it's
you.
real cheap. Billboards
Thank
are
you
so cheap.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for shooting me in the foot, because the contract is up for renewal, and I just said to Shannon, I'm going to renew for another year, and she said, why? Yeah. So I think it's a great question. It's a really great question, but I think also in every honest business textbook and with any honest business person that you talk to, and understanding that we are guests today of an industry and a business that makes its money off of advertising, at least historically has, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to advertise. It's very difficult not to advertise. You have this constant fear that I might be missing something. I should be out there. I should be in River City, or I should be in Memphis Magazine, or my gosh, Health and Fitness. And the Daily Memphian, those guys are knocking it out of the park. But the Memphis Business Journal is knocking on my door and saying, hey, you really need to, And so we, to this moment, can tell you that we struggle with the marketing plan. We spend not a lot of money, because it is largely word of mouth, but we still really struggle with our marketing plan. And I'll leave it to the other two here.
Yeah, I would just, and that's fantastic you mentioned that, because we struggle with that very same thing.
Sure.
And I would tell you in the construction industry, sir, that the best marketing for us is concrete on the ground.
Yeah.
So For me, it's repeat business with existing customers. We started by, I'm also the lead estimator for my company. So I have a lot of background in math and estimating. So I put numbers and proposals together, and we send out, numbers on a bunch of different projects. So I will tell you that our business came from when we first started. It was just, hitting the ground and sending out proposals. All right. So our repeat business now is just from customers and doing the work the right way. With concrete, it's just you're going to either do it right or not. Right. And so you get one shot at it. And that's kind of probably why I like it so much. Because you mess it up, then you got to tear it out. Right. And that's pretty expensive. Right. So you only get one shot.
Yeah. To your point about those magazines, I've done the magazines, I've done the Facebook ads, I've done the Instagram post, I've done the SEO, I've done the PPC. Nothing beats just picking up the phone and asking somebody for their business. And we don't have a real, super fancy marketing strategy or anything. I'm the chief cold caller, and I probably banged out 25 calls right before this thing and got 3 meetings booked. And so, like, my approach is always...
Wait, who are you calling? I am super curious now. Like, people you drove by and their yard was a mess, or was it like you found their phone number, or is it just?
I've got a spreadsheet.
So, but I mean, they're prospects of some sort that you've said I know they're up for renewal or something.
Yeah, I mean, they're apartments, senior living homes,
Yeah.
Investment groups that own property in town.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, and then also too, I mean, when I got into the commercial side 2 years ago. I remember going to Grinder Tipper Grinder's office and Walker General Contractor's office and all those guys with a box full of donuts, bag full of Chick-fil-A, just popping in, dropping it off, introduce myself. My approach is pretty just simple. It's just going to them and asking them for it. And, the worst thing they can say is no. I mean, it's the worst thing. They're not going to yell at you. They're not going to bite. But most of the time, well, not most of the time, but, a lot of the time, I think some people actually have an appreciation for somebody just walking up in there being hungry. Mm-hmm. And so, one of my little sayings is people spend too much time getting ready to get ready. It's like, just pick up the phone, ask the person, walk in their office door, ask them for the business. And that's really been ours. Like I said, it's not been anything fancy at all. Prior to that, though, when I was getting started, it was Facebook and Nextdoor and word of mouth and whatnot. So.
Up front here, yeah. The question, again, the acoustics are weird. What was the most challenging personal behavior that you had to overcome? That was limiting the business. Thanks.
Shannon needs to answer that for me.
And we're going to get Andre's wife up here in just a second. Can we get one more chair and a microphone, please?
You have enough time.
Yeah. Do you want to go?
Me?
Yeah.
You're the safest person up here to answer this question.
I'll go, but this is going to get ugly.
All right. Ask the question. Would you ask the question again?
What's the most challenging personal behavior that you have to overcome or had to overcome that was limiting the business?
Okay. I feel like I'd be lying if I said that I've completely overcame them, but I've at least been made aware of them through people. A couple of them is, the delegating and the elevating. There's that piece. I think the other thing too is we say so many things that we don't actually mean to say. And if we went back and listened to the words that came out of our mouth, and I may be guilty of it just a moment ago right up there, but, just managing expectations and communicating clearly. And then the last piece was like, starting early out, the whole accountability piece. I dreaded having to hold people accountable. And, finally I've learned it's like accountability first is about support, then it's about discipline. And those 3 big things, those are 3 big lessons, that held me back for a while and to some degree still do to this day.
He's been to the best business school I've ever heard of.
What's that?
No, whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Well, I will tell you, for me, is, and if my partner were here, he'll tell you the same thing. And my wife will tell you this, I am the world's weakest person when it comes to people. I'll give you 4, 5, 6, 7 chances. And a lot of times in construction, that's a no-no. I literally had a guy that we were watching on camera. My wife knows what I'm talking about. We were watching on camera still for me every day. And I brought him in the office and kept him employed. And my partner was like, "What are we doing?" And it's just because I'm weak when it comes to people. But I'm getting better. Okay, I had to let someone go the other day, and I was proud of myself. So, but yes, I'm getting better with that.
Is he still stealing?
It was limiting the business for sure.
Is he still stealing?
What's that?
Is he just stealing less now? I want to know how that ends. I want to know.
He's stealing less. Yes, not as much.
Progress. All right, progress.
I'll give you an honest answer to I think, what was an excellent question. I think that Shannon and I both had to learn our individual styles and discover what lanes we are best to remain in. And from that, I grew up with a German mother and a military father. When everything was perfect in our home, always. Everything. And so my expectations of performance with our staff is nothing short of that. I expect it to be perfect, but people are human. Mm-hmm. And so I discovered that I'm better as a manager, and Shannon is a natural leader. And so my personal behavior is to walk in with a grumbly face first thing in the morning and say, that baseboard is dirty, those flowers are wilting, why are the dog toys on the floor? I've said this 100 times, there's smudges on the front door, and these are very real things to me, but I'm much better taking it to Shannon or our practice manager and saying, hey, can you guys handle this? Because they do it with kindness and respect, and I'm the military guy, Let's go. And people don't respond to that. And I think maybe more today, maybe less today, they respond less.
To answer your question, and you asked what personal traits, so I had to think about this for a moment, but I'm a creative, so I'm all over the place. I like to think about ideas, and I have 50 ideas to maybe, our employees are like, hold up, I can't do one of those, much less all 50. So I've had to learn to put some things in the parking lot and to really think hard about what should be the priority for the next transition, and that organization of thought on my end has helped me be a better leader.
Another question. I was anywhere else on this other side of the room, right there. Shannon, pull your mic down just a little bit closer. Yeah, go ahead.
Which one?
As you were speaking, I thought a lot about the church health center in Scott Morris. Do you do the same thing as him, or is your operation different?
Could you jump in that? You could. Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
No, do you want to repeat the question?
No, I think go ahead and repeat.
It's a great question. So the question is, do we operate similarly to Dr. Scott Morris and the Church Health Center? We probably, Scott and Church Health couldn't be further away from the type of models that we are than ZüpMed. But at the same time, we both strive to take care of people, and each in our own segment of society. I love Scott. I communicate with him on a regular basis. But, as you know, Church Health supports those individuals who work and do not have insurance and don't have another way of paying for their health care. Honestly, we're the private jet of medical care. And so we're pretty far removed from that model, but we try to still, at the same time, take care of a broad range of patients.
Can I just say, and the private jet, sweetheart, I love the analogy, but an urgent care visit with us is $199. That includes an hour with a provider. It includes the diagnostics. It includes a chest x-ray. It includes an EKG, and it includes lab work, basic labs. So I would like to fly a private jet for $199.
We're a very inexpensive private jet.
When time is money, and when you don't want to wait, and you don't feel well, and you don't want to deal with the nonsense that unfortunately is 2025 typical medicine, it's an alternative that you may choose.
How much is like a yard a normal yard. Is it more? It's probably more than that.
Probably is.
Yeah, I mean.
It's not your fault. I'm not being critical. I'm just curious.
Question.
Dude, I went to school for a long time, all right?
Yeah.
I mean, your typical house in Memphis is probably $7,000, $8,000 a year, and I mean, your apartment complexes, they're all over the place. It could
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
10 to 100.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. And we won't ask how much the concrete is. It's a lot. It's a lot. All right. Well, these folks are staying around. You can ask questions. We have got drinks and we've got some food out there. And thank you all very, very much. This was really wonderful. Thank you all. Thank you. That was great.